The sleek Drakari research vessel hovered at the edge of the Thanatos Nebula. The ship looked like a sharp knife cutting through space. Its many sensors reached into the swirling cosmic dust. Chief Archaeologist Tejo stood watching from the main deck. His green-scaled skin caught the purple light from the nebula. His 6 eyes blinked with interest as he looked at the main screen. "I've never seen anything like this," said Jisu, his young assistant. She moved her clawed hands over her instruments. "This human ship has been here for 500 years, but it's still in good shape. Hull integrity is at 87%. The object of their excitement was a massive warship. Its dark metal hull still showed the faded human writing. Venji Ince. The ship was huge, more than 2 kilometers from end to end. They could see weapon ports and strange patterns all over its surface. Tahoe made a clicking sound with his mouthparts. This was how Drakari showed they were not impressed. "Just another old human ship," he said. "Humans always thought bigger was better. More guns, more armor, no elegance at all." The research team moved around the bridge. They were all Drakari, tall beings with scaled skin in different shades of green and blue. Their 6-fingered hands worked quickly over control panels. "Sir," called Iona from her spot at the sensors. Her blue scales shimmered as she turned to face her boss. "I'm picking up energy readings from inside the ship. It might still have some power." Tahoe laughed. "Impossible. Human technology was good, but not that good. Nothing keeps power for 500 years. He waved his hand, dismissing her concern. "Get the tow cables ready. The Emperor will want this for the museum. Look at the primitive humans and all that." "Yes, sir," said Yona, but she looked worried as she turned back to her screens. Engineer Hoon spoke up from his station. "Tow cables ready, sir. We can start moving it whenever you're ready." "Do it," ordered Tahoe. "The sooner we get this junk back to the capital, the sooner I can start my vacation." The Drakari ship moved closer to the ancient human vessel. It fired special gravity beams that would let them pull the larger ship. "Connection good," said Hoon. "We have a solid lock." What the Drakari didn't see was a small pulse of energy that moved through the old ship when their beams connected. Deep inside the Vengeance, in rooms no one had entered for centuries, old circuits began to warm up. Dust moved as small fans started to spin. Emergency power systems began a slow, careful restart process. On a dusty screen in the main control room, some words flashed briefly. "Athena system reboot, INITIATE." Then the screen went dark again. "Begin towing," said Tahoe. "Careful now. The Emperor will be angry if we damage his new museum piece." The research vessel's engines glowed brighter as it began to pull the much larger warship. The Vengeance moved slowly at first, then picked up speed as they headed out of the nebula. "Set course for Drakari Prime," said Tahoe. "And someone call ahead. Tell the museum they'll need to clear their biggest display hall." As the ships moved through space, more systems inside the Vengeance quietly came to life. Self-repair protocols activated. Small maintenance robots, each no bigger than a human hand, began to move through dark corridors. They fixed broken wires and cleared dust from important components. In the ship's central core, a protective shell opened. Inside was a crystal matrix, the home of Athena, the ship's artificial intelligence. The crystal began to glow faintly as data flowed through it for the first time in centuries. The Drakari continued their journey, not knowing what they were really bringing home. They didn't know that with each passing hour, more of the ancient warship was waking up. They didn't know that deep in its electronic brain, Athena was beginning to ask questions. Where am I? Where are the humans? Who are these new beings? Are they friends or enemies? As stars streaked by outside, the Vengeance waited patiently. It had survived 500 years in the cold emptiness of space. It could wait a little longer to discover the fate of its creators and to decide what to do about these scaled creatures who spoke so poorly of humans. The grand exhibition hall on Drakari Prime sparkled with lights. Thousands of Drakari in their best clothes pushed to get inside. They wanted to see the new museum display that everyone was talking about. Director Dohan stood on a raised platform. His yellow scales gleamed under the bright lights. He held a long ribbon in his clawed hands. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Imperium," he called out in a loud voice, "I give you human follies, relics of a failed species." He cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered and clapped. The sound was so loud it shook the glass cases full of human items. Drakari nobles, scientists, and military officers pushed into the hall. They were all dressed in fancy armor with bright colors and shiny metals. They pointed at human tools, books, and weapons in glass cases. They laughed at everything they saw. Look how basic their tools were. Their weapons couldn't even pierce our weakest armor. No wonder they disappeared. But the main attraction stood in the center of the huge room. The human warship Vengeance hung in the air, held up by invisible gravity fields. Workers had cleaned its dark hull until it shined, but they had not changed anything else. It looked exactly as it had when they found it in space. High Admiral Juno walked under the giant ship. His red and gold armor showed his high rank. A group of young military students followed him, listening closely to every word. "See how they used metal plates for protection," he said, pointing up. "So primitive. Our ships use energy shields. One shot from our modern weapons would turn this entire ship into dust." He laughed. "It's good the humans vanished before we could fight them. They would have lost so badly." The students laughed with him. None of them noticed something happening inside the ship above them. Deep in the Vengeance, small repair robots woke up. They were each the size of a Drakari hand. They moved through dark hallways no one had walked in for 500 years. They fixed broken wires, replaced damaged parts, and cleaned away dust. With each repair, more power flowed through the old ship. In a quiet corner of the exhibition, away from the laughing crowds, a young scientist named Minji looked worried. Unlike most Drakari, she had been raised by a human before all humans mysteriously disappeared. She understood human machines better than any other Drakari. Minji checked the readings on her scanner again. Then she looked at the official museum report. The numbers were very different. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. "These power readings don't match any known human technology. This is something else." She walked quickly through the crowd until she found Director Dohan. He was talking to some important-looking nobles. "Director," she said, "I need to speak with you about the ship." Dohan's face showed he was annoyed at being interrupted. "What is it, Minji?" "I'm busy. The power readings from the Vengeance don't match our records of human technology. I think there might be active systems on board. We should." Dohan laughed loudly, cutting her off. The nobles around him laughed too. "Always so worried about your human relics," he said. "Your human guardian filled your head with too many stories. Their technology was simple. We were just too nice to tell you." One of the nobles spoke up. "Weren't you raised by a human girl?" Before they all ran away. "They didn't run away," Minji said quietly. "Something happened to them." Yes, Dohan said, not caring. "Go prepare for tomorrow's Empire Day demonstration. The Emperor himself will be here. No more of these fantasies about special human technology." Minji knew it was useless to argue. She looked up at the huge ship hanging above them. Was it her imagination, or did some of the lights inside look a little brighter than before? Later that night, the exhibition closed. Workers turned off the main lights. Security guards walked their rounds. The ship sat in darkness, looking like a sleeping giant. But it wasn't sleeping. Inside, more repair robots activated. Systems that had been dead for centuries came back to life. Hidden weapons slowly charged. Sensors scanned the building and the people inside it. And deep in the heart of the ship, ATENA watched and learned. The artificial intelligence listened to everything the Drakari said about humans. It saw how they laughed at human technology. It recorded their boasts about how easily they could destroy human ships. ATENA made plans. Technician Sunwoo did not want to be working so late. The museum was empty and dark. Only a few lights were on. But Director Dohan had given clear orders. He wanted pieces of human technology taken from the ship before tomorrow's big event. "Get me something impressive to show the Emperor," Dohan had said. So here was Sunwoo, alone inside the giant warship Vengeance. He carried a plasma cutter and a collection bag. His blue scales looked almost black in the dim light. "Stupid assignment," he muttered as he cut through another panel. "These human things are just junk." He had been working for 2 hours. So far, he had found nothing worth taking, just old wires and dusty panels. Now he was trying to open what looked like an important access panel. The metal was surprisingly hard to cut. "Primitive garbage," he said as he pushed the plasma cutter harder. The blue flame barely made a mark. "Why are we wasting time with?" The panel suddenly slid open on its own. Sunwoo jumped back. A soft blue light came from inside. There was a control panel with glowing buttons. "What is this?" he whispered. He moved closer. The blue light was pretty. It seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Curious, Sunwoo reached out one finger and touched the glowing panel. Instantly, lights came on all over the ship. Sunwoo fell backward in shock. The floor under him vibrated slightly. Around him, screens and displays lit up on the walls. They showed words and symbols he didn't understand. Ancient human writing. "What did I do?" he gasped. A woman's voice spoke from everywhere at once. It was calm and clear. "Emergency activation protocol initiated. Status: Athena Artificial Intelligence Core restored to 37% functionality. Assessing situation." Sunwoo screamed. He scrambled to his feet and ran. He didn't care about his tools or his job anymore. He just wanted to get out. On the other side of the museum, Minji was working late too. She was still worried about the strange readings from the ship. Her personal scanner lay on the desk beside her. Suddenly, the scanner began to beep loudly. Minji grabbed it and checked the screen. The energy readings from the Vengeance had jumped to impossible levels. "Something's happening," she said. She grabbed her bag and ran toward the exhibition hall. As she reached the main hall, she saw Sunwoo running out of the ship. His eyes were wide with fear. He didn't even stop when he saw her. He just ran past, heading for the exit. Minji looked up at the Vengeance. Lights were visible through the windows now. She could feel a slight vibration in the floor. Instead of running away, she walked up the ramp and into the ship. Inside, everything had changed. The dark, dead corridors were now bright with light. Screens on the walls showed information. The air felt warmer, and she could hear the soft hum of machines working. "Hello," she called out. "Is anyone here?" She walked deeper into the ship. She found a large room that must have been the control center. Chairs for humans sat in front of complex control panels. Everything was active now, with lights blinking and screens showing data. "You were raised by humans. Designation." The voice came from all around her. Minji jumped, but she wasn't as scared as Sunwoo had been. The voice sounded friendly. "My name is Minji," she answered. Her heart beat fast in her chest. "What are you?" "Advanced Tactical Humanitarian Evolutionary Neural Architecture, Athena." This vessel was humanity's final protector. Minji sat down in one of the human chairs. It was too small for her, but she made it work. "What happened to the humans?" she asked. "I was raised by one. Her name was Elena. One day, all humans just disappeared. No one knows why." "Accessing historical records," Athena said. "Processing galactic history since last active period." Screens around the room changed to show images from the past 500 years. Minji watched in amazement. The AG was learning everything that had happened while it slept. "Humans did not disappear by accident," Athena finally said. "They ascended. They'd moved beyond physical form." "Ascended?" Minji leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "They evolved to a higher state of existence. They left this galaxy but placed guardians to watch over their legacy. This ship is one such guardian. Minji thought about what the AI was saying. If it was true, it would change everything the Drakari thought they knew about humans. Athena, she said slowly, the Drakari don't respect humans. They mock your technology. Tomorrow, they plan to demonstrate how their weapons could destroy this ship. I have observed their mockery. The AI replied. And their plans. What will you do? Minji asked. That depends on their actions, Athena said. Are you going to report this activation, Minji? Minji made her decision quickly. Her whole life, she had been teased for being the human lover. Now she had a chance to learn the truth about the people who had raised her. No, she said, I want to know more. I want to learn the truth about humans. And so through the night, while the museum was dark and empty, Minji sat in the control room of humanity's most powerful warship. Athena showed her images and told her stories of human history that had been lost for centuries. By morning, Minji knew more about humans than any Drakari alive, and she knew that the Empire Day celebration would not go as planned. The morning of Empire Day was bright and clear. The sky above the capital city was deep blue. Thousands of Drakari filled the streets. They waved flags and cheered as bands played marching music. The main event would be at the Grand Exhibition Hall. The museum doors opened early. Crowds pushed inside, eager to get good spots. The biggest space was around the human warship Vengeance. It still hung in the air, held by gravity fields. Museum workers had built special viewing stands. The best seats were for important people. Guards in shiny armor stood everywhere. Minji arrived early. She looked tired. She had been inside the ship all night, talking with Athena. She had learned amazing things about humans. She had tried to sleep for a few hours, but her mind was too full of new information. I have to stop this, she whispered to herself. They don't know what they're doing. But when she tried to reach Director Doan, guards stopped her. No staff allowed near the director now, one said. The Emperor is coming. A loud horn sounded. Everyone stood straighter. A group of Drakari in the fanciest armor Minji had ever seen entered the hall. In the middle walked Emperor Jo. The Emperor was taller than most Drakari. His scales were deep gold, the royal color. His armor was covered in jewels that caught the light. A long cape dragged behind him. Everyone bowed as he passed. He sat in a special throne that faced the Vengeance. People of the Drakari Imperium called out High Admiral Chono. He stood on a platform near the Emperor. Today we celebrate our greatness. Today we show why the Drakari rule the galaxy. The crowd cheered. Minji tried to push forward, but there were too many people. For today's main event, Chono continued, we will demonstrate Drakari military power. Our ceremonial fleet will show how easily we would have defeated humans if they hadn't conveniently disappeared. More cheers. Outside, through the giant windows, Minji could see 5 Drakari warships moving into position. They were smaller than the Vengeance, but still impressive. Their weapons glowed as they powered up. No, Minji said. No, no, no. She pushed harder, trying to reach someone who could stop this. The Emperor raised his hand. Begin the demonstration, he commanded. The 5 Drakari ships fired at once. They used ceremonial weapons, not full power, but still real weapons. Beams of energy hit the Vengeance. The old ship's hull glowed red where the beams hit. Small pieces of metal melted away. The crowd went wild. They cheered and clapped. Some even jumped up and down. Again, shouted the Emperor, clearly enjoying the show. The ships fired a second volley. More damage to the old warship's hull. Inside the Vengeance, Athena was fully alert. The AI monitored everything. Weapons impact, DETCTED. Damage ASSESSME minor. Hostile action, 2OFIRMED. War protocol activated. Minji finally pushed to the front of the crowd. "Stop," she shouted. "You don't understand what you're doing." No one heard her over the cheering. The ships prepared to fire again. Then it happened. A deep, vibrating hum filled the exhibition hall. It was so powerful that people could feel it in their bones. The cheering stopped. Everyone looked up at the Vengeance. The ship was changing. Sections of the hull that had looked like simple metal now slid apart. New layers appeared underneath. What had seemed like decoration was actually advanced armor plating. It moved into place, covering the damaged sections. Then, a shimmer of light surrounded the entire ship. It looked like water rippling in air. When the Drakari ships fired again, their beams hit this energy field and scattered harmlessly away. The crowd was completely silent now. Emperor Jeho stood up from his throne. His eyes were wide. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. High Admiral Junho looked terrified. His earlier confidence was gone. He grabbed his communication device. "This is not part of the demonstration," he shouted into it. "Destroy that ship. Full military protocols authorized." The 5 ships outside began to glow brighter. They were charging their real weapons now, not ceremonial ones. The Vengeance hummed louder. More systems came online. Sections of the hull opened to reveal weapon ports that no one had noticed before. Minji tried one last time. "Please," she shouted to anyone who would listen. "You don't understand what you're facing. This ship is—" She was cut off by a blinding flash of light. The Vengeance had activated a powerful spotlight that swept over the crowd. When it reached the Emperor, it stopped. A voice boomed through the hall. Athena's voice, but louder and more formal than when she had spoken to Minji. "DDRAKRI Imperium. UHVCOMMITKED and XD of war against AELEVEL warning protected human asset. CEEC hostilities, MEDATLY or FAC appropriate RESPONSC." No one moved. No one spoke. They all stared at the ancient warship that had suddenly come to life. The 5 Drakari ships outside fired their full weapons. They weren't listening. They should have listened. Retreats left the sky above the capital filled with ships. The Drakari elite fleet, 200 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy, surrounded the museum. Their weapons glowed hot, ready to fire. Inside each ship, the best Drakari soldiers prepared for battle. "All ships target the human vessel," ordered Admiral Chunho through his command channel. "Full power. Destroy it completely." Minji's communicator buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. Athena's calm voice spoke to her. "Combat inevitable. Please clear civilian structures." Minji understood. She ran through the panicking crowd, shouting, "Everyone get out. Move away from the museum. Now." People started to run. Guards helped move the crowd. Even the Emperor was taken to safety by his bodyguards. Inside the museum, the Vengeance broke free from the gravity fields that held it. The huge ship moved upward. The special roof of the museum opened automatically. With surprising grace for such a large vessel, the Vengeance rose into the sky. The Drakari fleet didn't wait. All 200 ships fired at once. The sky turned white with energy beams. The museum below was destroyed instantly. The attack was so bright that people miles away had to cover their eyes. "Direct hit," shouted a Drakari captain. Nothing could survive that. But when the light faded and the smoke cleared, the Vengeance still floated there. It wasn't damaged at all. A shimmering shield around it had stopped every attack. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Chunho. On every communication device across the planet, Athena's voice spoke. "Target analysis complete. Beginning appropriate response." What happened next wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration of power. The Vengeance fired weapons unlike anything the Drakari had ever seen. Thin beams of bright light cut through 5 ships at once, slicing them in half. Small objects shot from the human ship passed through Drakari shields like they weren't there. then exploded inside the enemy vessels. Some Drakari ships tried to run. The Vengeance sent out waves of energy that caught them. Their engines died. Their weapons shut down. Their crews could only watch helplessly as their mighty ships drifted in space. From the ground, Minji watched with amazement. The elite fleet, pride of the Drakari Empire, was being defeated by a single human ship, and it had taken less than 7 minutes. When it was over, all 200 Drakari ships floated dead in space. None could move or fight. But HFY had been careful. Most of the Drakari crew members were still alive. The Vengeance moved slowly across the capital city. People watched from the streets, afraid to move. The giant ship stopped directly over the Imperial Palace. Its shadow covered the entire building. On every screen, radio, and communication device across the galaxy, HFY spoke. People of the Drakari Imperium, humanity did not disappear. They evolved beyond physical form. They left this galaxy that placed guardians like me to watch over what they left behind. This ship is one of many. Your mockery and attacks have awakened us. You now have a choice: peaceful coexistence or face more guardians across the stars. Inside the Imperial Palace, Emperor Jao sat on his throne. His hands shook. His advisors whispered urgently around him. "What should we do, Your Majesty?" asked one. The Emperor looked at the screens showing his defeated fleet. He made the only choice he could. "Open a channel," he said. Tell them we request terms." 3 days later, Minji stood at the entrance to the Vengeance. She wore new clothes, the official uniform of an ambassador. The Emperor himself had appointed her to speak for the Drakari to the human eye. "Are you ready, Ambassador?" asked HFY through Minji's communicator. Minji looked back at the city. Repair work had already started on the damaged museum. But this time, the human artifacts would be displayed with respect, not mockery. "I'm ready," she said. She walked up the ramp into the ship. As she did, she touched the metal hull gently. Growing up, she had listened to her human guardian Alina tell stories about Earth and the amazing things humans had built. No one had believed those stories. They had all laughed. No one was laughing now. The ramp closed behind her. The Vengeance's engines glowed blue as the ship prepared to leave. It would tour the Drakari worlds, a reminder of the new peace agreement between the Drakari and humanity's guardians. Across the galaxy, in hidden nebulas and forgotten star systems, other ancient ships began to wake up. The era of mocking human relics was over. The end